Hey, welcome back to Diabolic Shrimp, the least professional talk show on the internet. I'm your host, bestselling author and comic creator Josh Grant, and this is our third segment of Monday's Tartar Sauce. It is so great to have you all back on here for our third segment of Monday's Tartar Sauce. Tonight, we're going to get a chance to talk all things fantasy. We're going to unlock magic and look at other worlds and things, and we have a wonderful crew of guests on tonight to talk a little bit about that. I wanted to share with you just a couple of things first before we get started. For starters, we have a live chat over on the side over there somewhere. And so feel free to throw out any questions or comments or play trivia. We love to be interactive on the show. We'd love to spend time with you and highlight some of your stuff. You can ask these people the tough questions. Something else I wanted to highlight. Last week on Diabolic Shrimp, we had our first ever holiday special. We got to raise money for charity just by playing trivia. People that participated in the live chat, we took out drawings to donate to charities that they enjoy. And so tonight we have one last drawing that I wanted to do really quick for that. And our winner of our final charity slot for the year to raise money for their charity is Chelsea Sheffer. Chelsea, thank you so much for participating in the live chat, having some fun with that. Chelsea, if you're not on tonight and you don't comment what your charity is that you want to raise money for, then I'll just reach out to you later with that. So Chelsea, thank you for playing and winning for a charity. And so Diabolic Shrimp loves to give to things. We love to do universally good things for humanity. We've given to all sorts of cool stuff like ocean exploration, childhood disease research. Just recently here with this, we've done like Doctors Without Borders and things like that. So yeah, by all means, if you're here, comment in the live chat. We'd love to see you. And then one last thing I wanted to highlight before we get to our wonderful guests tonight and talk some fantasy. This isn't fantasy, but sort of. Coming up here, I'm working on another zombie apocalypse, which is my newest comic. It's a ways out. It's a few months out, but we are about to announce our big Kickstarter thing where you can actually get drawn into the comic as a zombie. So I just wanted to put that on your radar coming up down the horizon. If you want to be a zombie, keep an eye on Diabolic Shrimp here coming up. And so, well, we have a whole slew of guests. They're all experts in fantasy. These are a great group of people. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. And so let me bring them all on. They've been waiting in the wings. So we have Caleb and Kelly. We have Patricia Mather Parker, Christine Duts, which is with an umlaut. I'm working on my umlaut, Christine. Sorry for my pronunciation. And Mehreen Ahmed. And so
No, it's good.
Mehreen Ahmed. Sorry. I'm working on it, Mehreen. And so I'll get it by the end of the show. And so
I'm sure you will.
well, hey, everybody, welcome to Diabolic Shrimp.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for having me, us, all of us.
Thank you for having me. Yes.
Yes. Well, it's so fantastic to get this crew on here. This is a group that I have read all of your books. For anyone that's watching, check out their books down in the description below. Wonderful writers, all of them right here. Some of them write in a variety of styles. Some of them are very focused on fantasy. So we're going to talk a lot of fantasy with all these wonderful people. And we already have a couple people in our live chat, by the way. We have Courtney Kelly says, love that. Well, we love having you, Courtney. And then we also have Sarah Irons. Hello, all. Hello, Sarah. Welcome. And so it's so great. It's so great to have you all in the live chat. So let's dive on in tonight. Let's jump in really quick. Just share with me very briefly for each of you. I'll throw it to all of you. What have you been working on lately? Because you're all wonderful writers and I love reading your work. So what is your latest work or what have you been working on lately? And I'm going to throw that to Mehreen for starters.
Well, I have recently published Gatherings just this year. It was published
and it's really good. I've read that one. I've reviewed that one.
Yeah, you did. Yes. And it's a collection of short stories. But I'm still working on a novel, which I've finished. It is about over 100,000 words at the moment. And I'm editing it at the moment. But, each time you edit, you add something new and the story kind of changes. Yes. So I've been doing that for a while now. So I really don't know when I'll be able to send it to the publisher or to the edits. But I'm at the second or the third phase of edits, and it's still going. So I really don't know when that will finish. So I'm working.
I feel you there. I feel you there. I've been working on this zombie comic for like well over like a year now, and so it's just starting to get there. And so here before we jump to the rest of y'all, we also have Fire Assassin 06. Fire Assassin. Oh, I've been working on my fantasy. Ooh, excellent, Fire Assassin. You'll have to share that with me at some point. I want to read it. And so and then we also have Emily Roberts says, "Hey there, hey Emily." All right, so jumping over, Caleb. Share with us just briefly what have you been working on lately, or what have you recently published?
So I published Camelot's Reckoning last November, and so
it's excellent as well.
Yeah, thank you. I actually just finished all of my self edits just this week, actually, and it's sent off to my. She's my editor. She's my line editor, and she does some of the other conceptual stuff with it. Hopefully, it'll be ready to go by March. I'm waiting to get those edits back. And then I'm also working on an Egyptian mythology series, which I'm hoping to have coming out this summer. Hoping to put the first two out for this summer.
Ooh, I love Egyptian mythology, and so I'm excited to read it. All right, so how about you, Patricia, and then I'll come down to you, Christine, in a second.
All right, I have 2 books out. This one's called The Abode. This was my first one, and this cover is getting a makeover. From
that's a different cover from when I read it.
My second cover, and the third cover is going to be better.
Ooh, okay.
I hope. But anyway,
I liked your cover, so.
Well, good, thank you. The Abode is a fantasy with obviously dragons, and then there's a follow-up, The Ice Dragon's Daughter, which is my second book, and I have been working mostly on learning how to advertise and market. So the third book, and this is a trilogy, the second book has some of the same characters from the first and then introduces a bunch of new characters. And the third book will be written as soon as I get there.
Yes. I was like, isn't that the truth? We're all kind of in that boat, right? And so Fire Assassin says, okay, dinner. See you, Josh. Okay. Well, we can't get in the way of dinner. Bring us all some dinner there, Fire Assassin. And so, all right, Christine, share with us what you've been working on as of late.
I've been working on editing my latest book, the Rise of the Stone, which is the prequel of The Path of the Stone. I published the book last year, and thank you. And I started writing the prequel of last year as well, which is based on a dream I had, and I just finished it. So I'm now editing the whole book, and it's taking a long time, but enjoying the work so far.
Oh man, I feel
show
all
you anything. I have it online.
Are the rest of you guys self-published, or do you have publishers?
I have publisher. I'm traditionally published. I've always traditionally published, and I've also published internationally. And even though I say so myself, so I have published in many places, UK, including UK, USA, India, Australia, so both East and in West. So I call myself prolific. So
great.
I went the route of like self-publishing. I was originally dead set against it, and then the market kind of shifted a lot, so I actually fell in love with it. But kind of with you, like Patricia's, like it's that figuring out that like advertising piece, right, and the marketing piece, and it took me a long time to get there. And but I absolutely love self-publishing. But I'm also getting the new experience lately of I'm working with a big company on a secret project, which is fun. And it's a lot of fun, but it's weird going between both worlds now of like self-published world where I was in charge of everything to like working with the company on something. It's like it's a very strange experience. And so Emily Roberts threw you all a question. Do y'all use local editors or do you ship it off?
Sorry,
no, go ahead, Mehreen.
The last book, the last book, Gatherings. It's a collection of short stories which is published in the UK. They had their in-house editors, so they edited the book. I mean, I have edited it myself, but then they had their in-house editors and 3 editors. It went through 3 editing phases. So that one was edited, and all my books have had been edited by in-house editors because they have all been traditionally published.
Right.
So yeah, so I didn't have to send it off to any editors at all.
I have used local editors, including my in-house editor, my husband.
You're like Virginia Woolf.
Yep.
Well, I wish. Who's a very good writer, and her husband did that too. Well, yeah, me and Virginia, Anyway, but I'm thinking for this third book, I might try to find someone. I am self-published. I am older than the average beginning writer. I published The Abode when in 2017, after many years of not knowing what I was doing, but I kept at it. And I was 69 when that was published.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I realized that if I was going to wait to find an agent, and then that agent to sell the book, I'd probably be dead. So
that's right.
I was like, I got started when I was like 20, and I had the same feeling.
Well,
Yeah, me too.
Agents are just terrible. They just take their own sweet time and
Yeah, that was actually one of the reasons I decided to self-publish, because the first thing I did, we went through something like 30 agents and got rejected by all of them.
Exactly.
And so, which in the grand scheme of things is kind of low, because I know there's a lot of people who will say, well, I went through 100 or 200. And at 30, I was at my limit. I was like, okay, I'm done. And then I found self-publishing and figured out the amount of freedom that could be with self-publishing. And so to answer the question, my actual editor found me, and she's kind of pro bono. She's great. She's fantastic. We butt heads a little bit because, everybody has their weaknesses, but she's basically told me she's going to ride me to the top. She's like, as long as you keep me with you, I'll take care of everything. I'll edit what you got. You send it to me, and I'll stick to your shoulders until we hit the stars. So she's got a lot of faith in me, more than I got in myself. So.
Oh, believe in yourself, Caleb. You're being too humble. You have an excellent writing. All right. Well, here Sarah Irons also is throwing it out there to you, Patricia. Proves you're never too old to follow your dreams. All right. Well, sweet. You are an inspiration. And so, all right. Well, here let's. I'm going to throw this to Christine here in a second. Based on all of you, based on your personality, if you were in a fantasy story, what species other than human would you be? So, well, here, I'm going to throw it to Christine real quick. Christine, go for it. There's a bit of a lag.
Yeah. That's technology. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, what species other than human would I be? I think I would be a harpy.
That's a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah. I would definitely. I don't think I would be a vampire. I think that's a more popular choice. But I would definitely be a harpy, because I think they kick ass and they are very much misunderstood. Yeah, they're wrong. They can transform as in their human form. They're women in their weak human form, but then when they transform, they are a force to be reckoned with. Don't make them angry, and that's kind of like me. So,
that's me as a host.
Well,
okay.
So.
That is awesome.
Don't make me angry on this show. I'll turn into a harpy. How about you, Caleb? What about you? Based on your personality, like what creature would you be? Or
I'm kind of fond of lizard people. I'm not quite sure why. I'm definitely not a lizard people theorist in any way whatsoever. But in the future, I have a series that's going to delve in a bunch of different races, and I actually explored that very question because I wanted to choose races that a lot of people hadn't done. And so harpies was actually one of the races that I'm going to do, and the other two were lizard people and minotaurs. And so I think for me, for some reason, I resonate on a very ancient Aztecian level of reptiles. as strange as that sounds.
Caleb, I think you get the trophy for. I think you might be the very first person to come on this show and say I'm very fond of lizard people.
I
So,
will
so there you go.
100% take
Hopefully,
that.
you won't be the last. I don't know.
I will take that all day.
It's how about you, Mehreen?
I have a fondness for unicorns.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I don't write fantasy as fantasy. I'm more into magic, magic realism. Like I deal with humans and societies and human conditions, mostly. But I try to create a magical world, even within that. But I have used the concept of unicorn quite a bit in my writing. The lost unicorn, or the last unicorn, or unicorn that is never going to come back. So it is always a mythical creature who will always reside in my imagination forever and ever and ever. So that's what I want to be. I think one horn unicorn.
You're gonna have to work on it. You'll have to go get something.
Work on
have a horn on here. How about you, Patricia?
Well, I've changed my mind since you asked the question. I
always say the first thing to come to your mind is the right answer. So
all right, well, that was anything among the fairy folk, elves, fairies. But I write about dragons. I love dragons. I would love to meet a dragon, and so I might as well just say dragon because I think that's what I would really enjoy. I'd love to be able to fly and be huge. So dragon.
Yeah, if I have to go like high fantasy, go like Tolkien-esque kind of fantasy, I guess I was like I'd be like the elves because I always tried to be like jumping out there and do the best I can kind of thing. But I'm also kind of like Smaug the dragon, I guess, sitting. I like to kind of just sit on my my horde back here, So I'm like a weird mixture of like Smaug and Legolas or something. I'm like Smaugalas or something. I don't know. And so that's. But I don't have the lovely flowing hair as the elves. I'm working on that. But all right. So for all of you, should fantasy have a connection to the real world? And this actually might, maybe we'll start with Mehreen on this one.
Yeah.
Should fantasy have a connection to the real world, or should it be its own like separate world? You kind of have these two different types of fantasy. Like one usually where it's kind of like Chronicles of Narnia, where it's like set in our world, but then they like find their way into another world, or it's like in our world, like urban fantasy, or it's like, it's its own separate world, like, Lord of the Rings or whatever. So here, I'll start with you, Mehreen, since you write kind of like that magical realism. So what do you feel? Which do you prefer?
Even science fiction is a fantasy these days. People can create stories on Moon or Mars or whatever, Vulcans or whatever. They too are fantasies, and so fantasy and reality have always been fused in that sense. So we really cannot take the humans out because wherever they are, wherever there is fantasy, there are humans and there are animals. So there's life. So when we talk about life, we also talk about just not fantasy on its own, but realism as well. But write the realism in a way so that it reads as a fantasy, so that it transcends reality. So I would go for that kind of a fantasy, where realism, our real life experience, is kind of fused in a fantastical way.
Definitely. I was like, and I feel it on that. It's like that's kind of like all mine. It's like I love to have a bit of that realism, but it's like in a different world sometimes, though.
Yeah, because I think you can relate to it better when humans are also involved. You can relate to like Moon people. Moon is not just about rocks or anything. If you wrote about just rocks on the moon or mythical creature. So unless there is human life involved, unless there is some sort of a life involved, you really can't relate to it. The other day, I saw a very interesting movie by Leonardo DiCaprio. It says "Don't Look Up," and it is a fantastic movie. Oh my goodness, I haven't seen anything like this in ages. And the last scene was terrible. Last scene was that these
spoiler alert to everyone in case you're going to go watch the movie.
that is a kind of fantasy as well, a weird animal. But that was also fused with humans, so I could relate to it better that way because humans were also involved. So yes, so I wouldn't want a world on its own, for fantasy or for, fantasy characters only. There
Interesting.
has to be some realism.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I that's something I've always loved about fantasy, right? Is like its ability to examine what's real
Yep.
in a weird, safe way, right? And so here we'll go Caleb next, but before we get there, Andrew says connection to the real world provides the bridge to the fantasy world that we all like to escape to, and so that is very deep. Andrew is always bringing the depth to the show here. Andrea Hintz is also an author, a fantastic author, and so all right, Caleb, how about you? Like, what are you feeling like? Real world, like connected with fantasy, or like totally fantasy?
I think Andrea hit the nail on the head for me, because in my mind, you have to have some sort of grounded base in reality to some degree. I mean,
Yeah.
people read fantasy because honestly, reality kind of sucks. I mean, the real world is quite awful in a lot of different ways. So if you can take portions of the real world and certain aspects of it and transform it into the fantastical world with, whether it be magic or whatever, I think that's what allows people that extra piece to escape to. They're able to take some portion of their lives and relate it to this other portion that in their mind is 100% real. So I think, and again, we talk about different genres here. Urban fantasy, without a doubt. I mean, urban fantasy is exactly that. But then you get into like high fantasy and second world fantasy and things like that. They may have their own place. They may have their own, a totally different world altogether. But in some way, whether it be the way that world works or be it the people and the emotions that are formed among the people of that world, it has to be grounded in reality some way in order for a reader to really connect to it on a deeper level. So I definitely think across the board, whether it be urban, high, I mean, we can even go steampunk and dark fantasy, some way, shape, or form, it has to be grounded in reality to a degree, because that's what's going to connect to
Yeah,
real people.
that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, and
And if
oh, go ahead, Mary.
if I may add, a Lord of the Rings is a real fantasy, right? By anyone's definition, it is real fantasy. But a Lord of the Ring too was very much into wars and violence and killing and each other. So we really cannot escape reality as it is, because we are so grounded in our real world of like you said, of we want to escape to a fantasy world that there's just too much grief in this world. But then we have a innate tendency to transport that grief into that fantasy world. Otherwise we couldn't write anything, because we are so
Right.
grounded in this. So even the most fantastical fairy tales of all has grief, has war.
Yeah.
Even Snow White, look at Snow White. Snow White is a fantasy, but
Well, especially if you go to any of the fairy tales, it gets dark.
it's deep.
If you go to the
You see
original
that it is
Brothers
kind of
Grimm.
deepening, grief deepens, and then there is a message in the end, which we can all learn from. So, fantasy cannot be devoid of,
Right.
and we cannot really escape to the world of fantasy to escape grief. We can't do that ever.
Well, I think that's one of the beauties of fantasy. Like I said, it's like it gives us a chance to examine real things and real emotions, right? And in a semi-safe way, and
Yeah.
in a semi-safe place. And so here, Patricia and Christine, I'll get you both next. I do want to make sure we get a chance to throw some of these questions to our audience. So we're going to take some of our audience questions. Audience, feel free to bombard these people with questions at any time. Courtney Kelly, by the way, is also answering. It says, real emotions and relatability are required, but I adore secondary world fantasy. Whisk me away. I'm kind of with you, Courtney. Actually, I was like, I definitely love to be exist in another world. I always think a key to a good fantasy is like a world I would love to live in, even if it's like a dark world. It's like, I would love to explore this place. How interesting. So here, Christine and Patricia, I'll get both of you here for first for these audience questions. Audience, if you have questions, throw it in the live chat. Here's a few from I've collected beforehand. House Atreides 7, someone's been watching their Dune. House Atreides 7 says, which of your books would you make would make a good movie, and why would it make a good movie? So, Christine, how about you? Oh, hopefully it didn't freeze. Okay, but here, I'll throw it to you then, Patricia, and then we'll come back to Christine. Christine, if you can hear us.
I have always thought that my first book, The Abode, would make a wonderful movie. It has the elements of I'm sorry. What? Christine, go ahead. Okay, I'm not sure what's happening.
All right.
Well, what I was
jump on in, Patricia. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, what I was going to say is that the aspects that Caleb and Mehreen talked about so eloquently.
Go ahead. Sorry, I was
okay.
For you.
The human, I do have human beings. They do have feelings. They have grief. They have joy. All fear. There's fear. They have to face or run away from. Family relations, all of it, but add into that, dragons and people who live underground in icy caves, beings. So it is, I guess, what you'd call second world fantasy, but movie. You asked me a question. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, House Atreides 7. This is House Atreides 7. Which of your books would make a good movie, and why?
And why? I think The Abode would make a great movie. There's dragons, lots of dragons. There's danger to the dragons, and there's a mixture between a sort of real world that I've made up, but it's more like our world than most. And there's a complete fantasy world where the dragons are. And so I think it would make a wonderful movie. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of action.
Yeah, I have a question. In the fantasy world where you say that the world only belongs to the dragon, would there be a hierarchical, is there a hierarchical order there?
A hierarchy?
Yeah, hierarchical order, like the king of dragons, and then
there is a traditional leader of dragons who is selected at birth, because that dragon will be born with a black scale.
Yeah.
And then become the leader when it's her turn. It's always a female. One of the things that I set out to do, and I hope managed to do, was make most of the heroines of my book heroines rather than heroes.
Good.
Yes, because it's not, it's I especially the two boys and a girl. I made it two girls and a boy, and on purpose. Anyway.
Well, this might tie a little bit then. Sorry, you're talking about especially like showing some of those female characters, right? And so let's throw up Andrea's question here really quick. Andrea Hintz is asking all of you, do you think fantasy is a way for readers to experience justice they don't get in the real world?
And that's a very good question.
Very good.
Here, let's wait. And Christine, by all means, jump in at any point of view. Yeah, by all means, jump in, because sometimes yours is lagging just a bit. So jump in whenever you can, and we'll just let you go if you start talking.
As a reader and as a writer too, when I write certain scene, I use it to get sort of a justice or a message out that I can't always get out in the real world. So fantasy to me is my escape, but it's a way to the real world. And
all right,
and hopefully, find some sort of solution or justice or any kind of form of how to say this? Any form of I forgot the word. I'm sorry. God, justification.
Okay. Yeah, I think in my opinion,
I got a blank right now. But,
Sorry, Christine, you broke up here for a second, but Mehreen, you were jumping. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Mehreen.
I'm trying to find the word, and
Sorry.
I have a sorry.
Sorry, Christine. Go ahead, Mehreen. I'll jump back to you in a second, Christine.
Yeah, we talk about poetic justice in our books. So whether it's fantasy or reality, it doesn't really matter, because reality can become fantasy at some stage. Fantasy can become reality at some stage, because we are all talking about sentient characters. Poetic justice. So these are all human emotions. These are all human. We cannot dehumanize ourselves, or we cannot take the humanity out of ourselves to make a fantastical world, to make a world so different from the world that we live in, or for being what we are. So if poetic justice is there, so to answer her question,
I was like, I don't know, Mary. I was like, I saw cats, and I think that was so far removed from humanity that it terrified me. I'm not sure it was fantasy. I think it might have been horror.
Even cats can be sentient. They always come back. They never lose their way.
It
If
was
they leave home, they always
darkest
come
parts of humanity I watched sing on that stage. So sorry. Sorry. I always had to take the depth that we have on the show and just and I
that's
just
a
end
very
up
good
shredding
point.
it.
I love
And
it.
so well, all right, here. Let me ask. I'll throw this one to Caleb real quick. It says it's like Charlie Zard Charlie Zard 1 2 3 4. It says why do all quests start with killing rats? What?
Mine doesn't.
Okay, let's start with killing rats. I think I honestly, and they start in a pub too. So like what? Actually, like how do you? Let's alter this a bit. Like how do you start? Like how do you start your story, and why do you want to start that way? And Caleb, I'll throw this to you, and then I'll jump down to you, Christine, in a second. So we'll try it in a second.
I don't know how many people here play video games, but Josh, you may know what I'm talking about. Dark Alliance Baldur's Gate actually starts off in a pub
Baldur's Gate.
killing rats. I mean, so that's your fantastical beginning, and I think that's
in a
that's
pub
like
too, I think.
Yes, exactly.
They always start in a pub.
You come to the Elf Song Tavern, to be exact.
Yes.
So I mean, that's kind of like that's level one. That's where you start out. Rats is your easy kill. As far as my book goes, it's it's dystopian. It's an Arthurian retelling. So anytime you deal with something like that, especially if you're going to deal in urban fantasy, you've got to start off with something kind of mundane to a degree, and not to quite use that word, but you've got to build to the action. So starting off with something that's pretty typical, pretty ordinary to a degree, is kind of your starting point. So across the board, if you're killing rats in high fantasy, that tends to be your mundane. That's your starting point. That's you're choosing your starter Pokemon when you go after rats.
Charlie Zard did.
There you go, exactly. So for my book, it starts off with the two brothers. One of them's in an archaeological dig looking for Excalibur. The other one's in a courtroom because he's a lawyer. So I mean, it's in ordinary life. Those are they're not exactly mundane jobs, but they're just jobs that are out there. They exist. So in any place that you start, that's how a book works. You've got to build to the action. You got to build to the climax. So starting low is your best place to go. So if you're starting with pubs and rats, then start with pubs and rats. If you're starting with sewer systems and customer service reps, by the way, I'm a customer service rep, start low. There's only one place to go from the bottom, right? So
I love that. I love the perspective, Caleb, because it's kind of funny because when I do fantasy, it's like I'm actually the opposite. I start in the explosion essentially. I'm always like start with the explosion and then pull back and see what happened after. And so I love and I think they're both actually great ways of going because I've enjoyed both things. I always start with like the Star Wars beginning is kind of what I call it. It's like there's some crazy thing happen and then we pull back and have like the boring thing happening in the Senate or of Star Wars or whatever. And so, all right, going down to Christine. Go for it, Christine, if you can hear it.
Well, I read historical fantasy mostly. So I usually start with building up to the action. My mundane things would be like a scene in a historical setting that people in times would find daily life, daily life stuff. And then slowed up. I've done the slowly building up. I've also started with bang and then just went from there. I've done both things, but I really prefer, going slowly so that the reader can know the characters first before anything major happens.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Killing of Rats, I've never seen that in a book. I don't read a lot of those books.
maybe we should all. We're all gonna.
No
team
animals are
attack.
harmed by stories.
There,
Yeah.
those rats. You got to get those rat pelts to craft something. I don't know. So maybe hopefully no harpies were harmed in your story there, Christine.
Yeah.
And so, all right. How about you, Patricia?
It's a good question. I was thinking the second book, I start with a character who's familiar from the first book, a young adolescent boy, and he has lived quite a fantastic life to date in the first book, but in the second book, he starts out just feeling like, oh, I've been hanging out with my parents on this sailing ship for my whole life. And I really want to see more of what I refer to as the wide world.
Yeah.
And so it's very normal. He just wants to leave his parents and go out and see what's out there. And then he gets the message, and then he discovers that what he's actually going to be on is a quest, and it becomes a lot more exciting. But it's very, very mundane in the beginning. He just wants to get away, and he loves his parents, and he doesn't know how he's going to tell them. And then before he gets a chance, there's a tidal wave. So
see, I'm actually like following a little bit of this, like this sample is like on my show, right? It starts out mundane. It's just me up here, and it's really boring and every day, and then I get all of you on here, and it's more exciting. And so all right, Courtney Kelly says rats were in The Princess Bride. Good point.
Rats of unusual
didn't start with
size.
them. That's right. Those rodents of unusual size. And so, we'll get Sarah. We'll get to your question a little bit later. Sarah says, "Do you feel that in writing a fantasy story, your reality connection should be exact as reality would be, or should there be a leeway allowed for the story to flow with the plot?" Ooh, that is a very loaded question.
That's
like,
a good question
kind of.
too.
Yeah, kind of like, how real do you make it? I was kind of
exactly my point. How real can you make it? That's the thing.
well, and I think Christine actually, like, talking about writing a little bit of like historic fantasy, right? Yeah. If you get kind of that historic fantasy, or like Mehreen also, like magical realism, it's like the adding as much reality to it, and for lack of a better term, like not mundane, but it's like it's more real. I think actually adds to that actually, and builds in that. I feel like versus like I tend to write in this really like really out there kind of fantasy, and so it's a little bit more like it's a little bit more Star Wars. And so to me, I'm like I always have my rule of like if it's a choice between real or like cool fight scene, I always go cool fight scene in mine. So it's like I kind of throw it out the window, like the reality. But I think they both. I think there's just value to both of that. Here, let's. So what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna dive into a bit of fantasy trivia, and to see which of you gets to be the winner of fantasy trivia, to be the lore master. Whoever wins is lore master for an entire year, because we won't have another fantasy show for an entire year. So you get to be lore master for the whole year. You can make a little crown for yourself. And I have a bag of Skittles I can send you maybe. And but we have a good 16 questions. Our audience members, please do play. You can play. I don't think any of these fine people can see the live chat. Maybe they can. Don't look at it. And don't cheat. And hopefully this works out for you, Christine. I know it's a little bit laggy, and so hopefully you'll see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up. Here we go. I'm going to bring up our visual picture. This is not one of the clues. This is just my lovely comic coming up. But like, I'm going to bring up our visual picture. I will read a question, and then you're going to buzz in And so to do that, you have to make a cool fantasy noise. And I will leave that to you. So you get to come up with your own cool fantasy noise.
I'm out.
So there you go.
I'm not good with those things
That
at
was
all.
perfect, Mehreen. You just say, I'm not, and wave your hand, and I'll see you, okay? And so as long as you kind of spaz out and make a lot of noise, it helps me see because we're all kind of tiny on the side. All right. And we'll see how many you can get. There's only 17 questions. And so to see who's lore master. And then we'll see if we have time for maybe a couple more questions at the end after this. So audience, please do play along.
We just yell out. Is that what we do? We
Yep,
yell
you're
out.
gonna make some sort of fantasy magical noise. So you can be
Right.
like,
Okay.
or you can just yell. Just go buzz if you don't know anything
If I
else.
do
just
that,
spaz your
my
hand.
dogs are gonna think I'm crazy.
That's good. That's actually my goal on
My
this
dogs
show.
are gonna
We
freak
are-
out if I do that.
And so
Primordial noise.
if we hear your dog barking, then we'll count them. We'll count that as your buzz in. Okay. And so if you try and make
Okay.
rat noises, there we go. The rats that are being killed in the beginning of the game, like you can make a rat noise.
A good one, actually.
You have to say Leviosa. Leviosa.
Leviosa.
But if it has to be Leviosa, not Leviosa, or I won't call it you. All right, here, you ready? So here we go. So once again, I will bring up the picture. I'll give it a second. Hopefully it loads well enough for you, Christine. I know it's a little bit lag. And then I will read the question. You have to wait till I'm done with the question and try to be as spazzy as you can because it helps me to see you. So, and hopefully I get you. Yep. Hello. All right. Get ready. And so this man says he's a hobbit in all things but height. Who is this man? Patricia.
Is it Tolkien?
It is J.R.R. Tolkien. So Patricia, you got a point on that one. And there's by the way,
I got a point.
I forgot to say there are no negative points for wrong answers. So guess away. It's okay. It's like, and if someone doesn't get it, feel free to buzz in. And then here's for a bonus point. What does the JRR stand for in J.R.R.
I don't know
Tolkien? Does
that.
anyone know? I love Tolkien, but I had to look this one up.
I would have to look at it.
How
No
fast can you Google?
Yeah. No. So
No
All right.
cheating.
so what was that? Mehreen, did you buzz in? I thought you did for a second.
No, I did not.
No cheating.
All right. Yeah, it's John Ronald. It's John Ronald Rule. John
Wow,
Ronald
okay.
Rule. I was like,
How
it's so
come we
much more
not know that?
fancy. You
Yeah.
should have went with all of those names. All right, get ready. Here comes the next one.
Oh,
This is a lovely picture from Chronicles of Narnia, Lion Witch in the Wardrobe. How many books are in the Chronicles of Narnia series?
Oh.
So got to buzz in, Mehreen.
4.
Okay, Mehreen. It is not 4.
5?
It is not 5, Patricia.
I think it's 3. I think it's
It
3.
is not
there's
3.
no-
No, I don't know then. Wow.
None of us.
4 was
know.
my first guess, and since Mehreen got it wrong, I wasn't about to guess 4 again.
Christine, you got to
I
guess?
saw all of the Narnia movies, and I can
7.
So
7. She
Christine
said 7.
has the right answer. It is 7. There are
7.
7
Wow.
books, and so I've actually read them all. They're actually they're about half of them are decent. The other half I'm like, it's all right.
Jesus,
So,
that's
they're okay. Lion Witch in the Wardrobe is my favorite though. All right, next up. All right, let's see.
Oh,
Caleb might get this because he brought up Baldur's Gate. This beloved Dungeons and Dragons monster is often behind many of the game's devious schemes. What is this creature?
Oh my gosh, this wasn't a
Medusa.
question I could have answered.
It looks like a modern version of Medusa.
It's like a
Oh my
mixture of a
gosh.
Cyclops and a Gorgon. Yeah, it's
You have
beauty-
to fight this guy.
I'll give you.
Baldur's
I'll give
Gate,
you a
too.
hint. I'll give you a hint. Beauty is in its eye.
Oh my gosh, is it the Beholder? Is that right?
It is a beholder. All right, Caleb
Okay.
got it.
Oh gosh, he's a fun thing to fight too in that game. He's a little difficult.
Is he? That's what I was gonna say. He's not fun. It's like he's difficult. So yeah, for those of you that don't play games, I try to do a mixture. So if you don't play video games, you might not get a couple of these. I'm sorry. I'll try to give you hints. And so this famous video game sword has been called the Blade of Evil's Bane. What is its more common name?
Oh,
It's from
God.
Zelda.
I never played these games. I played Ocarina of Time, but that was it.
Yeah.
Never played a.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's all right. It's a. It's not a beginner sword. It's a blank.
I'm gonna get roasted for not knowing this by somebody.
I know. Audience, go ahead and roast them away. Oh, yeah, our audience is getting some of these actually.
It's gonna get bad.
So that is the Master Sword.
No.
It's like Excalibur, but it can control time and do anything else.
Oh, right,
So
yeah, I'm gonna get roasted for that one, not knowing that's gonna get.
That's
me.
my goal. All right, this one's a tough one. I tried to find several tough ones. Sorry, I know I'm already being tough on all of you. This mythological Celtic creature is similar to a skinless centaur, but cannot cross rivers. It likes to drown its prey. What is this creature? Anyone know this one? I only knew it because I had to do some research on this recently, so I was curious to see if everyone. This is a really fun one.
What is it?
All right, this one's known as the Nukalavi. The Nukalavi. It's kind of like a Kelpie, if you ever heard of Kelpies or Selkies, in a way. It's like another evil version of a Kelpie.
Is the horse and the person?
They're actually connected. It's like
I
it's got like a rider, but like its body is the horse. It's really weird.
Right.
It's really creepy if you look it up sometime. So the Nukalavi likes to drown all the people. It's a cool picture too. All right.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I already hear everyone getting ready. Okay. This little relic, known as the Golden Snitch, is the best way to win a game of Quidditch. How many points is it worth?
Oh
no negative points for wrong answers. So take a guess.
100.
So, great guess, Patricia, but you're not quite there. It's more than that.
Is it 300?
120.
It is not. Oh, 120. Christine was close, but it's not.
I say it's got to be 150 then. That's
it is 150. Caleb got it.
Caleb.
We're kind of team attacking this one. I had to look that one up.
My family is going to hit me hard for not knowing that one. They're all Potter fans, like
yes.
the whole other side.
Yes, my sister is. That's why I had to throw in a bit of a Harry Potter in here. All right. This iconic villain is the Lord of the Rings, but is actually the second in command to which Dark Lord? Anyone know it? Anyone love Tolkien as much as I do?
It's Sauron's the only name coming to mind.
Sauron is his name.
All right.
But who does he serve? Sauron is actually the second in command to an actually even bigger Dark Lord. A lot of people don't know this.
I forget.
Yeah, so do I sometimes.
It's the eyeball. It's
No. He is the eyeball. This guy is the eyeball. The eyeball is servant to Morgoth or Melkor, depending on which part of the Silmarillion you read. All right. Sorry, I'm being too tough on y'all. All right. This excuse me. This is an image from The 13th Warrior, a film adaptation of what ancient epic fantasy poem about a hero slaying a mother of monsters?
Beowulf?
Patricia, you got it. Beowulf.
It's the only one I know.
So that's a really good movie, by the way. It's a really good, interesting version of Beowulf.
Okay.
All right.
I know who he is.
Yep. This is Tyrion Lannister from Game of Thrones. Complete the saying, a Lannister. Anyone seen it?
It's been so long.
So I get to cheat on this. I get to look all this up. Yeah, no one read it.
I didn't see Game of Thrones. No.
So, well, it's a Lannister always pays their debts. All right, let's see. All right, this magical school of witchcraft and wizardry has 4 houses. What are they?
That one I know.
Slytherin, Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, and Ravenclaw.
All right.
Oh man, Christine's all over it.
Yeah, I read all the books.
That's a good one.
You should get more than 1 point for that.
Only if you are in Gryffindor do you get extra bonus points for without earning them. And so that's what happened at like the end of the first one. All right. Here we go. This one, if you don't play video games, you might not know it, but you can always take a stab at it. This one is these characters are from Final Fantasy, the iconic video game series that has had many installments, 16, with a whole bunch of spin-offs. Why on earth is it called Final Fantasy? Anyone want to take it? This is like super deep trivia. So anyone want to take a guess as to why you would name something Final Fantasy? I bet you can guess it maybe.
End of the world?
So, good guess, but no.
No.
Actually, it's pretty much always the end of the world in that game, in those games.
Yeah,
though,
it really is. As many as I've played, I should know this.
Anyone want to take a stab at it? Why would you, as an author, name something Final Fantasy?
You're finished.
Go. End of fantasy,
So,
and beginning of something new.
Mehreen, you're pretty much right in the ballpark, and I'll give you a point for that. The creator of Final Fantasy, he was trying to create all these Final Fantasies, and it's kind of like looking for an agent. He was just kind of getting rejected, and they weren't working. And so he decided, I'm just going to make one more. This is going to be my final one. And he made Final Fantasy. Yep, and he made millions and millions from it. All right. And here we go. This is a shirt from the mythical Camp Half-Blood. What book series is this from?
Oh gosh, I know it's from Rick Riordan. It's The Lightning Thief, and I cannot for the life of me remember the series name.
It's my favorite series ever.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get eaten for that.
You're
one
right.
Too.
It is The Lightning Thief. I'll give you a point for that, Caleb. It's from Percy Jackson and the Olympians.
Yes,
kind of like Harry
His
Potter.
Kane Chronicles is really good too. If you've never read it, the Kane Chronicles.
Kane Chronicles.
No, okay.
Yeah, I was like Kane Chronicles though. I was like, it was okay. It was just like told in a weird way that I couldn't get as into. And so, all right, this one's kind of recent here. Also, it's an older book series too. So this famous book series recently got the show treatment. What is it?
Oh, I don't know.
It's just the book of.
Is it The Witcher? No.
Oh, good guess, but no, it's not The Witcher. It's competing with The Witcher right now. It's on Amazon Prime. The show is, but I haven't seen it. I heard it's decent.
Is that the Wheel of Time?
It is the Wheel of Time.
Oh, okay.
I have actually.
I've yet to watch that. I've got to watch the Wheel of Time.
Well, I want to read it first. I heard good things, but there's like 30 of these books. I think.
Right.
It's
an extensive series. Yeah.
It's like it's an older series. All right. We're coming down to the last few questions. Let's see. It's coming out. Caleb is on top right now, so everyone's got to catch up. And so here we go. This is a special type of dragon called a wyvern. What makes it different from any other type of dragon?
I should know this, but I don't.
And feel free to take a stab at it. You won't lose points.
It doesn't blow fire.
Good guess, but no. Some wyverns do.
I mean, it's a different
It's
type
very
of dragon,
small.
given the fact. I don't know. I'm not sure the exact answer here.
Some can be small, some can be large.
It doesn't fly, although it has wings.
It has wings.
Actually, it does fly, and it has everything to do with its wings. There's something special about its wings.
Well, I mean, they typically walk on the tips of their wing, like the bend in their wings, because they don't have front legs. So,
ding,
but
ding, ding.
outside
All right,
of that,
Caleb, you got that one. It's
okay.
wyverns. Their front arms are actually their wings as well, and that's what makes them a wyvern. And so, all right, coming out, man. And so Caleb widening the gap just a little bit. Everyone's got to catch up just a bit. Last two questions, and again, these are kind of video game ones, so we'll see if you get them or not. This powerful symbol gives the wielder godlike power. What is it called?
Golly, Legend of Zelda, man. I'm gonna get roasted for this too.
It's my goal, actually.
Well, this is a kind of pyramid, and then there's an inverted pyramid within it.
Oh God, I can't believe I don't know this. If you'd put an ocarina up there, this would be a totally different conversation.
This was an ocarina. This is
It was, and that's what's so bad is I have no idea what it's called off the top of my head. The word triumvirate keeps coming to my mind, but I don't think that's
You're
it.
close. You're close.
It's
so-
Switzerland.
I have a shirt that says "May the" and has this symbol be with you. It's making fun of Star Wars, so it has the word Force in its name.
Is it Triforce? That's the
It
only thing
is.
I can
It is
think
the
of. Okay.
Triforce.
I'm gonna catch so much for this after
Hey,
this.
you got it
this goes.
eventually. Sorry, I
They'll
feel
be winning.
I feel bad. I'll have to shake this
Yeah,
up.
but
and then-
these gaming questions, I'm gonna get hit hard for not knowing them off the rip.
Well,
Ooh,
there you
Caleb might know this one too because he played. Sorry, everybody. I tried to put
Not
in a
play video
variety in
games
here.
at all. My son
No.
does all the time. But
This is from Final Fantasy. It's an iconic creature from gaming. It's from pop culture. Does anyone know what it's called?
I'm gonna say I believe it's a chocobo. I think
It
that's
is
the
a chocobo.
correct way.
It is a
Yeah,
chocobo,
okay.
the beloved chocobo. And so, sorry everyone, I tried to throw in a variety there, and there's so more games. So, but bringing it back to us here. So it looks like Caleb, this
Lore
year you are our lore master. So all hail our lore
Right.
master. So accolades.
The
to
gaming
you, Caleb.
questions served in my favor. I'll give you that much. If we'd have went
Did
old
they, though?
school
You
fantasy, and I'd have
kind
been
of muddled
awful.
through a bit.
I mean, that's true, but that's the only ones I was even going to be close to winning. I assure you.
But don't worry, everybody else. I was like, you have another year. You can go out there and you're gonna have to read every fantasy book you can find and play a bunch of video games, and then we can come back next year
go.
and
No writing.
we can unseat Caleb. Caleb is like the game.
I'm
You know,
not going to
it's,
play video games. because
I might have to take you up on your Skittles offer, though. That's just
I'm
so
too
you
old
know.
for video games.
I want to eat these, Caleb. I was hoping you wouldn't remember I actually offered them. They're mine. Keep your hands off them. All right, so everyone's cheering for you all here. Caleb,
Good, very
Caleb,
good.
you're getting
Yay.
cheers from everybody. So.
Sarah's amazing. She's one of mine, so she.
Yeah,
loves
she's
Sarah to
required. She's required to cheer for you.
Yeah.
She just wants the Skittles.
death.
All right,
She better, or she's getting a message.
So, well, time flies. It's just kind of mind blowing how quickly this goes by. You have all been wonderful to get to spend a little bit of time, have a good laugh, getting to talk fantasy. I just wanted to just point out again to our audience members that all these wonderful people here, their books, they have their. I put their links down in the description. Check them out. I have read at least one book from every one of these people, and fantastic writers, all of them. That's why I had them on. So Caleb, Patricia, Christine, Mehreen. Sadly, we're just out of time here, and so just thank you so much for
Thank
being
you,
on the
Josh.
show.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Bye-bye.
Nice to
All
meet
right.
you all.
Thank you for having
Yeah, well,
us.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah, hang out for a second. I'm going to send you back down below here to the Nether Realm or whatever. I don't know what it's called. I'll come up with something cool since we're in fantasy here. It's another fantasy world. And so for all of you that joined us this evening, it was a blast to have you. I always love getting to interact, being an interactive show. If you haven't checked us out before, please do hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out a lot. I get to give a lot of money away to things like awesome things like charity, and get to do a lot of cool things like that. And it really helps me promote some of these authors that come on. And but thank you for spending a bit of your time. I hope you had a wonderful set of holidays if you celebrate, and I hope that you have a wonderful new year. We have a lot of exciting stuff coming up in the coming months on Diabolic Shrimp, so please do subscribe. Please do check out our website. You can check all that out below, along with all of our guest books. And just thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you've had a lot of fun. This has been another Diabolic Shrimp. Have a good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good night.